In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the beginning was said that there was an infinite void. That void, the best way that we can personify said void in this dimension is with water. It was also written that in the midst of this void existed a divine intellect, a supreme maturity that brought forth other words. In the midst of the darkness, words were uttered. Let there be light. And there was light. Soon there were other words, words that spoke about the earth to separate the waters. Because we share all of the elements of the earth, we too can call ourselves earth. Greetings and welcome to yet another step in the journey, another brick in the walls that we form of the temple. This is the build. I am joined tonight, as every other night, with Brother Eli as we will bring him in for our opening announcements, and then we will dig in to our discussion. I will bring him in now.
Blessings, everyone. I hope and pray everyone is doing well. Wholeness is the way to live. The words we are expressing freely are not meant to offend anyone. Our words are not meant to be in any competition with anyone else's wisdom. Your wisdom and understanding is yours alone. We are choosing to remain consecrated while being in the furnace of affliction, the burning bush. We also want to be in abundance, joy, complete reciprocity, and healing. The other half, of course, is that conquering ignorance is essential. Nobody is born wise. A person has to make serious efforts to develop the qualities needed to be able to speak and achieve Mayat without falling in the twin traps of vanity and greed. Every day, the ears of the living have to be made to listen to the words of wisdom. As children of the Most High, or God, or nature, or life itself, we always portray ourselves with vigilant hearts, plain tongues, and we are capable of satisfying God because our entire existence rests on knowledge and not on belief. If it's up to us with love and grace and appreciation, we will distance ourselves from the harsh, the rash, the gossip, and the envious, and we always will try to accomplish things by doing it right, and we hope and pray to find virtue in everything, never evading responsibility, respecting what is worthy. These are just some of the few things that we in the burning bush and forever lasting life do appreciate. And of course, in the ancient Kemetic book of Two Ways, it says that The causes of wrongdoing are ignorance and immaturity. Of course, brothers and sisters, ignorance means just the lack of knowledge. And we hope you don't be offended by the word ignorance. Blessings. Thank you, Brother Michael.
Blessings. So then, today's topic is based on an experience that I have had within the last 48 hours. I attended an opera. The name of the opera is La Boheme. It speaks about a bohemian lifestyle. Let us first define bohemian lifestyle. Bohemian lifestyle or bohemianism is the practice of an unconventional life, often in the company of like-minded people and with few permanent ties. It involves musical, artistic, literary, or spiritual pursuits. In this context, bohemians may be wanderers, adventurers, or vagabonds, words that are similar to bohemian are gypsy. There are many different layers in the lifestyle that is thought to be bohemianism. What I found similar to the lifestyle of the burning bush is that it is one that speaks of art, it is one that speaks of literary finds and even spiritualism, with few ties within the circle. So, dare I say it, we are, in a sense of the word's definition, bohemian. Now, only in the essence of that definition are we bohemian. Are we, in our own definition, similar to gypsies or vagabonds? I would leave that for the people who view our lives as they are brought here to the burning bush to decide that for themselves. However, I would unfortunately have to compare that lifestyle of struggle through art, through achieving my art or the pursuit of it thereof, as definitely being a bohemian lifestyle, a bohemian rhapsody of sorts. This is indeed an ongoing and enduring thing that we are doing here in order to achieve a certain level artistically, literally, and spiritually. In this particular opera, La Boheme, it speaks of a poet, a painter, a singer, a seamstress. The poet named Rodolfo, the painter Marcello, the singer Musetta, and the seamstress Mimi. On Christmas Eve, a very cold Christmas Eve, within an attic of a broken down apartment complex, there is a poet and the painter. They are in their written and drawing work, and they are cold. One of the very first things that is uttered in the opera is that they are so cold that they are willing to burn whatever is available to keep warm. This is a room that has a wooden table, has multiple wooden chairs, some of which for the entirety of the play of the opera was not used. But the decision was made that the artwork was to be placed in the furnace to burn temporarily for their heat. And while this is depicted in a humorous way, in a satire type of fashion, it was I and maybe a few others who could not laugh at the joke, who indeed wept ever so gently, because this meant that the worth in their mind of their work was less than the value of anything that could be sold to buy firewood, sold to purchase food items, sold to find even an alternative method to keep warm, but rather to take their hard earned, hard fought work of their mind and cast it into a fire. This saddened me in a way that I had to explain to others who were not writers and not poets and not singers how much that actually hurts the artist to see their art not worth the paper that it is put on, but to be fodder for heat. Within this sadness, I was brought to a small smile underneath my tears when Nini arrived in the room, this attic. She was also cold because her candle had gone out and she could not find her way around her own apartment. She saw light, followed the light to these bohemians who had a candle sitting on top of a table. The artist, who was accompanied by a few friends who happened to scare up a bottle of wine and bread, had found their way outside. The poet left alone, Mimi finding her way to the attic, this light. And as most operas that have a love interest, they tend to fall in love rather expeditiously through music, because he saw as an opportunity to find alternative methods than what she was originally asking for. More than just the lighting of the candle, but a warming of her hands with his own and the closeness of another human being. He saw this as a way to advance to her, and she obliged. in a loving, kind type of way. Almost playfully, they began to prance around the room to keep warm. And of course, in an operatic fashion, the words, "I love you," came shortly after. This play of 4 acts ends there, with Mimi explaining to him, this is the seamstress, that she forms flowers from nothing that have no fragrance, but finds joy within the creation of the flower, whether or not they are fragrant, whether or not they are purchased, whether or not they are appreciated. Because she created it, it means the world to her. We learn in the second act that Mimi and Rodolfo find their way downstairs to a very busy street full of children and a man standing on stilts that has him 15 to 20 feet high, and candies and chocolates and wine and certain other sundries being sold, to which these Bohemians have no money. Yet they find their way to a seat in order to converse with their friends. A woman, the singer, finds her way into the opera. Her name is Musetta. Musetta is a more provocative figure. However, even in her provocations, they were done so with a certain type of class. You see, back in the day, it was highly provocative, even raunchy, to show a little ankle and not reveal anything else of the body. So this Musetta, as she is singing her way across these busy streets with her rich partner, of whom he professes his love to her, but she sees him as a play toy, finds a way to get this rich man to purchase everyone's meal who is sitting at that busy city street as a means to show off how rich she really is. You find out later on in the second act that Marcella was the ex-husband of Musetta. And she did this to show off to him, the poor painter who was sitting at the table. Still pining for Marcella, Musetta, the singer, challenges him to gaze into her eyes in front of her rich husband who just made a purchase to buy everyone's meal. He's being played. He knows this and can do nothing about it because she is, in his eyes and many men's eyes, so beautiful. Down goes the curtain and up comes for the third act. And this is when we find what Mimi has. She has an illness that is near terminal. And it is no surprise at all any longer that she will die soon. They, Rodolfo and Mimi, are living together, in love with each other. But because Rodolfo feels guilty because he cannot afford medication to bring her back to health, he pushes his love away from her as a means to save her from his despair, his doubt, because his love is not enough to keep her alive. He professes his love to her in a way that seems as if they are breaking up, but ends up bringing them closer together. This is happening in a true opera form, side by side with another couple, Musetta and Marcello, who are arguing over the flirtatiousness that she exquisitely pervases throughout the city streets. She's professing her love for her ex. It is done in such a way, sonically, this music is breathtaking to the point where you lose yourself in between both of these conversations. They both end the same, they both depart, but all is forgiven. In the final act, you are found back at the attic. It is months past the third act and curtain call. Mimi has gotten sicker. She finds her way back to the attic. It is known that even though they had professed their love for each other, they had agreed to stay away from each other. Yet, in her dying moments, she knew of no other man that she wanted to die beside than her love, her true love, the poor poet. The rich, provocative Musetta finds her way also to the attic, along with Marcello, who has forgiven her of her promiscuity her, and has allowed them to couple together again. And as a means to repent for her sins of being a flirtatious woman, she offers jewelry to pawn to buy an elixir to temporarily heal Mimi. But as the purchase is being made, as the company is being placed towards the pharmaceutical areas of the cities to buy what is called the muff, she is dying. She pretends to be asleep until they leave, wakes up, professes her love in the midst, in between heavy coughing and forced breathing, chooses to die in his arms before the medicine can get there. So many levels of worth, love, and even decency and dignity in the most inopportune places. And what I got from it all was we, the Bohemians, are the poor poets. We are the painters. We are those who are sowing together seeds of knowledge that are not as fragrant to onlookers to make as purchase, who, if not in a fiery furnace to keep us warm, might even take our very words and cast them to the flames to keep warm. For our worth has been deemed not worth the paper that we place our words upon. The poor bohemian, the vagabond, the gypsy, who wants to be heard, who knows artistically that they are significant, but are told by a world completely otherwise. We are seen as those who have a love, this love being knowledge itself, in a world that will kill it if it gives itself the opportunity, and yet it chooses to die in our arms, to hold heartily. I say all of that to say this. If you are listening right now, if you are a person who has been thought of as, or personified as, or deemed the title of artist, poet, creator, co-creator, musician, and do not feel the worth that you know your art, your creations are due, there is a love for you. Unfortunately, it is in a dying knowledge. We must, because of this, embrace a knowledge that the ignorant would allow to drown inside of a seeping flood of ignorance. We must hold it until what the world would see as its dying day, and take those words of wisdom as if it is the kiss of a wife unto a husband's lips, and poetically place from inside of our hearts and out of our mouths certain truths that will find certain companies of the same path to share a bohemian lifestyle. No matter how cold our winters are, no matter how hot that fiery furnace is, because that is the way it should be. It is not ever said in this world that the righteous teacher would indeed be rich or wealthy in a means of finances. We have a world that speaks of prosperity teachings that are of ill-gotten gains, who places in the minds a mining town of knowledge only to sell you the shovels in a gold rush that they have orchestrated for you. They will give you a garden saying that you must sow all of the seeds and they reap the fruit. This world that we are speaking about does not care about what righteousness is, but it is up to us to care, because we, the Bohemians, know full and well that there is no such thing as a knowledge that deserves to die. There is no need in this world for much knowledge. Most people will only use 5% of their brains, and even smaller fragments of that 5% are actually used in mindfulness. However, we have yet to find the human potential. We've yet to know how much of the brain we can ascertain. We've yet to see many examples of reaching Ma'at, but that does not mean that it is not our mission to try the same. You are not alone, and you not ever will be, as long as you know that the mission itself indeed is the spouse that we are married to. In sickness, in health, until death, despite disparity, despite destitution. However, we, the burning bush, also know of certain rewards that are due. And we do not see ourselves as vagabonds. We are wanderers, but we are not lost. And those who allow themselves the time to resonate with that, we ask that you find us, that we make this land of ours, this Bohemia of ours, so that we can love that wife, that husband, that spouse, the same way the Bible says that men should be loved as God and woman should be loved as a church. It is the same mission. It is a mission that we might never complete in our lifetime. But it is still a mission that is worth it. I've only seen 2 operas in my entire life. This is the second. This will not be the last. There's so much within the opera itself. However, one of the things that I find most interesting is exactly 50% of the singers, the opera actors, were my color and darker. And yet, we are told that opera and classical music are for rich white people to place on 3-piece suits and sit and clap in this manner. I'm going to allow you, who is listening right now, to see yourselves as classy musettas, who the most provocative could just shave but an ankle and be classy in your art. Musetta was also played as an African American woman who, I might add, has proclaimed herself as a goody two-shoes. These are recurring without coincidence. The next time, or the only time, or maybe even the first time that you get the chance to experience fine art, see not color, hear the story first. Feel the dynamic of the timbre of music first. Know that these written works were written anywhere between 50 to 150 years ago without any changes being made. No remixes were needed. No renditions were taken into consideration. The original voices, the original sounds were deemed more than sufficient. There is a reason why classical music can last hundreds of years. and R&B can only last a few weeks at a time. There's a reason why an orchestra can play in Carnegie Hall without uttering a single word for an hour to an hour and a half of songs that are written 400 years ago and end in standing ovation. That is standing by knowing the integrity of the art, and that is fine art. There's an opera in you, there's an orchestra in you. You are a fine art that needs not any change, no remixes, no renditions, only the proper audience. I have said so much. Brother Eli, please, I would love to know your feelings about what has been shared so far.
Thank you, brother. I don't know if you can see. You can't see it. Can't see it on the camera. The cold. It's so cold where I'm at because everything is not built. So when you're speaking about cold, I literally am in the cold, 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 cold. So I can appreciate that, and it's something else to see my breath while I speak. Um, but that Bohemian, La Boheme, or how they pronounce it, is it's so amazing. It's when you hear, because recently I was studying tragedies, trying to understand my own particular life and life itself. Because I remember when I was younger, when I believed the world basically was worth anything when it pertains to humans or what they believe their accomplishments will be. You're young and you have a lot of hope. Um, so I was studying tragedies, the concept of tragedies. Let me see if I can go into some definitions because I was going to this. Tragedy, as a definition, is an event causing great suffering, destruction, and distress, such as a serious accident, crime, or natural catastrophe. And number two is a play dealing with tragic events and having an unhappy ending, especially one concerning the downfall of the main character. When we go into life itself, we know that there are not a lot of concerns when it comes to materialism. When you look at a baby, the baby is only concerned with breast milk and sleep. Then something on the inside awaken within the baby's consciousness. And the baby discovers that it doesn't necessarily like to depend on anyone Because as a sperm cell, the sperm cell didn't have a book to read, didn't have eyes to see, nor ears to hear. It knew its mission. So when a brand new baby come out the womb, it does not know anything about a mother nor a father, for say, because it hears voices while it's growing in the womb, nor a hospital or rooms or whatever. It knows by nature that it needs to latch on to a breast that it never even met before, know anything about, never even seen, just nothing. So there is an unseen relationship. There is a force, a consciousness with the breast and the baby. So we see these relationships when it comes to the story that brother spoke about between human experiences. Some of us like to focus on myth or allegorical stories because allegorical stories will exist despite the time period that it exists in. For example, I like to always use, if I were a teenager in 1901 and I decided to do 100 push ups a day for 30 days, I will eventually gain a little more strength than prior. So if I was a teenager in the year 2022 and I decided to do 100 push-ups a day, I would not be denied the strength as the teenager was not denied the strength when he did his push-ups in 1901. Allegorical stories and myth exist constantly along with time. Now, history are events that can never be repeated. For example, June the 19th, 1901, if I done 100 push-ups that day, I would never get the opportunity to ever do 100 push-ups on June the 19th, 1901, because that event already have happened. Despite I continue to do push-ups on June the 20th, 21st, and so forth, all the way to the year 2000, maybe. So listening to these stories about tragedy, or let's just stick with tragedy, we always wonder why this happened to me, or why did this happen to this good person or the bad person. And I was thinking even the time when Brother Mike was speaking about the heat that the people were experiencing from a candlelight. And I looked at my candle, brother, and I don't feel no heat from the candlelight at all. There you go. They had to be on top of the candlelight. So a little more into tragedy, that moved me a little closer to try to figure out why. Because when I speak to certain people, I always try to let them know, if you're going to do anything, try to find if someone have already tried it and what were their results when it comes to the conclusions thereof. Because they told us once upon a time that nothing is new under the sun. So I ask people, where are you going? Why do I need to do these things? So why do we feel a connection with tragic events? Why do we feel the need to be reminded by tragedies via plays or via movies or music or even our memories. What are we doing and where are we going with these tragedies? Because creation designed us to forget the good things, but to remember the bad things. If I were, say for instance, if I were kind to someone for 20 years straight, I did kind acts for them. For some reason, we are wired for that person to remember the one bad thing that I did towards them. Why are we wired this way? We have so many beautiful leaders, Martin Luther King, Elijah, and others. Even people in scriptures and holy books. Why do the why do we focus on the one or two bad examples or bad experiences? And we just throw away the 20 years of good work, the 30 years of good work. Why we prefer Barabbas over Jesus? Why most of these books around the world focus on the bad things and bad events? Where are we going with this? Can we take these bad experiences beyond the physical life? People talk about reincarnation. Do we come back because of the bad experiences or the unfulfilled experiences? Is that a marker that existence used to bring souls back into the flesh? Because we do not truly know where our ideas come from. They just pop up in our minds. And some of us do not analyze them, despite the scriptures telling us to analyze all things, even spirits and thoughts, and even your heart. So these are traps for us. Because one example I think I can use is the biblical version of Jesus Christ, a person that done many works despite being betrayed by those he have helped. No one else have helped the masses like Jesus did. The injured, the sick, the doubtful. I mean, it's like the Wizard of Oz all over again. I mean, it was a lion, but it was a cowardly lion. It needed courage. It was a scarecrow who needed the scarecrow needed a heart or a brain. No, needed a brain. The brain, okay. Thank you, brother. And the Tin Man needed a heart. And Dorothy, what did she need? She just wanted to go home. Okay. Because my apologies, I am a little prejudiced. So I'm going to focus on the Wiz, not the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy, I remember when the movie started. I think they were having Thanksgiving dinner. And in a black family, Dorothy was old, but her mother was wondering when was she going to get married. So Diana Ross, Dorothy was singing around, not feeling at home, despite she were home with her family doing amazing dinner. So for some reason, Toto ran out into the storm. Thus, Dorothy ran after Toto. Thereafter, got mingled up in this storm into this wonderland where she was disconnected to the family that she was disconnected to while living with them. So now she in this world meeting these people. I remember the witch, she was so wicked witch of the east, or the kind witch. I don't want to mix the stories up. But she had to go on this journey. She had to walk on the a golden trail. What is it called? The golden path. What is it called again, brother?
The yellow brick road.
The yellow
Yellow brick
brick
road.
road.
Yeah.
And on this yellow brick road, she did not know where it led to. She didn't know anything, but the people around her told her to go on this yellow brick road. So she started walking and dancing and singing, and she saw some scarecrows making mockery of a scare. I mean, some crows making mockery of a scarecrow, which was Michael Jackson. And they was dancing and singing, and Michael, he eventually got down and started following her. He could not walk, but he continued to try. Therefore, he got a little better. And they just danced and danced. I'm just thinking about this, brothers and sisters. And I'm so happy that it's warming my heart, literally. It's literally warming my heart when I think about this. Memories. This is somewhat of a prompt, too, because I literally feel warmness in my heart while I was reminiscing the story. Literally in cold weather right now. Literally in the cold. So tragedies in the journey that is unknown seems to be life itself, because as the sperm cell does not know the tragedies of a human life, because we wouldn't be here if we knew the stuff that we was going to experience. Just as Dorothy, when she was sitting in her home with her family before the great Thanksgiving dinner, doubting and had a lot of disappointments with her life until she is removed from that. This guy a long time ago said that the reason why a lot of us are here is because we told God that let us do something on our own, God. Like God was some type of parent who didn't allow us to do anything. So we told God, said, listen, we know heaven. Oh man, come on. Let me just go and do this. God said, I don't want you to go. I love you too much, but I love you enough to let you experience human life on earth. So we end up like Dorothy. We start off by ourselves, even if you are identical twin. Y'all may look alike, but your souls are not the same. And then we have these tragic stories like Pinocchio. Pinocchio, of course, was someone who needed or desired to become a human, who father was a maker, a wood maker, and he desired for a son. Desire and imagination, because we believe we lack something. So all these interconnectedness when it comes to life itself. So we think about the play that Brother Mike was talking about. We think about the symbology or the symbolic allegorical stories that I mentioned. We can think about the story of Jesus. We could think about the story of Pinocchio and Dorothy. There is one story. The one story seems to be an idea of a thing, but not truly knowing what it takes to obtain that thing. Think about that. We suffer because we lack understanding of why. And when most people find that understanding, for the most part, there is no more suffering. So I'm going to go back to my original point of where are we going and why do we incline for the ones who are injured or destroyed compared to the ones who are not? Why do we desire for a Messiah? Why do we yearn to look and watch the hero, even if the hero dies in the end? I remember when I was younger, I spoke with a lot of international folk, and they were so amazed about American movies. They said, American movies, you always got to have a good ending. And I said, whoa, what do you mean? In my mind. So I started reflecting. Every movie, there's a good ending. Now, it was one movie that was not truly a good ending. It was the Transformers. Because I was a young child. I can't go into other movies. And I remember when the guy, his heart died, the Autobots, Optimus Prime. Excuse me, I had to think about that name, Optimus Prime. They was just feeding some serious stuff to us back in the days. Optimus Prime. Ooh. Wow. Go ahead, bro. Mike, I think you want to mention something. Your mic is muted.
Because that's such a great reference as to what we're talking about today, I wanted to pull up the definition of Optimus. It means literally from the Latin word optimus, it means best. That's the most simplest meaning I've ever looked up in the dictionary. Best. Prime, as in a prime number or a prime rib, thought of as the best. So the best of the best. The
Right.
best of the best.
Alpha and Omega. Right.
Alpha of Omega, the best of the best.
I didn't know
Even
Ultimate
this
Prime.
machine
I didn't know
had
that.
to sacrifice. Now, let's think about sacrifices.
Yes.
Was there ever an instance that was recorded in history of a diseased bird, a diseased cow, a diseased lamb, a diseased pig that was sacrificed and thought of as a sufficient sacrifice? I'm leaning towards no, and I'm going to show you where I'm going with this. When something is sacrificed to a god, they don't want the worst. They don't want what is going to just go in natural causes in a few days. They don't want what is diseased. They want the best, cleanest bill of health, the virgin, the untouched, the perfect. Isn't it ironic that we are on a mission to find perfection within ourselves with the knowledge of knowing that any and every version who sought out perfection in the eyes of God, that their fate was to die for it, a sacrifice for it. It's enough to make those who, in their idea, is intelligence, say, I don't want to be the best. That way, I won't ever have to be a sacrifice for anyone. I won't have to be a martyr for anyone. Why? Because I refuse to seek perfection. This is the origin story of the ignorant. Because once you have the dynamic that says there are old, very old rules that have to be followed, and you decree upon your heart that this is what I must do because this is what I believe, you're doomed to be a sacrifice at your best. That's the best thing you can look forward to, is to die for someone or something else.
But hold on one second, Brother Michael. Let's really look into the concept of the phoenix. Let's look into the concept of rebirth. Let's look
Mm,
at snakes when they shed their skin.
mm,
So I wouldn't necessarily make it as if that, uh, I wouldn't necessarily put that as sacrifice.
mm,
Because I remember the Quran says those who sacrifice, quote unquote, sacrifice themselves for Allah are not dead or not truly dead or something like that.
mhm,
Um, so when you look at, again, purpose, remember, I'm always focused on where am I going? Where is this path taking me? You see what I'm saying? Because most people are moving and doing things just blindly.
mhm,
But if a sperm cell is not allowed to move around blindly, or the cells are atoms, nothing is allowed to just do whatever it want blindly, then we might not have the complete evidence, but the purpose of where we, on an intuitive type of level, are we, where are we going? Where is one of our destinations? The capstone, the peak, the top, because the capstone is not the top. It's only a level that is unseen, because because the pyramid and the capstone is not connected. That's faith. Like the sperm cell had something, or the cells in the body. So I don't think necessarily, to that point, because, going to the conversation
mhm,
part, because I
mhm,
remember I want to keep you that long because it was revealed, I'm listening,
mhm.
it's cleaning up a little bit, because I remember I had pneumonia and some other stuff, and I can tell, you not at the stage last week, but it's getting to that point that when you wake up, you know what I mean? Not to go too
Yeah,
far on it, but yes, sir.
no.
But I was
Mm,
listening, but
yeah,
continue on, bro.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
I am highly appreciative of that.
Praise the Lord. Yes.
Yes. So when we talk about sacrifice, in regards to people that would say
Brother
that we
Mike,
do
look
not
that
have
up for me. Sacrifice while you going
sacrifice.
over it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me pull that up now. Sacrifice, by definition, is an act of slaughtering an animal or person or surrendering a possession as an offering to God or to a divine or supernatural figure. Now, that is the definition in regards to religion. Verb, offer or kill as a religious sacrifice. Chess, a move intended to allow the opponent to win a pawn or piece for strategic or tactical reasons. Sacrifice in baseball, a bunted ball that puts the batter out but allows a base runner or runners to advance. Now, that's very interesting. That's very interesting.
So think about that, brother. One, like we building,
Yes.
right? We're building. So look at the baseball player, look at the chess player, and look at God or existence itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because so if we from from, I would say from the definition
Yes.
of sacrifice, we exist because everything else exists. We are empowering ourselves by empowering something else that will lift us up to a destination that we may not know consciously, but on an intuitive level, on a spiritual level, we are
Mm-hmm.
moving up. We are sacrificing, meaning that we are giving to something else so we can be lifted up.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship between the divine, because the divine is divine. So if we sacrifice leisure time for study, we might not be able to say, I played catch football with my friends as a child because I were studying math or
Mm-hmm.
practicing my instrument.
Mm-hmm.
So that exchange, because I was listening to Michael Jackson, the reward for giving himself to the will of his father, who had a vision that the sons could not comprehend, allowed them to go further than their father, Joseph. Think about that. I know you got, because we was conversating, bro. I want you to cut me
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's good. That's
No, go
good.
ahead, because you got some more to bring in, bro. I can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's definitely there because I see that in us for our children. When you speak of the gentleman, and people who are watching right now, when he speaks of the gentleman, he is speaking about his sons. However, you give them such a high regard that for some, I had to explain that just now to them. Such high regard, that is the definition of passing the baton to a generation that is going to go beyond us.
Let me go into a further explanation. When they were younger, I will sit on the floor while they sat on chairs.
Mm-hmm.
because I use symbolic language on everything that I do because communication is multiple languages. So I never called them sons, I never called them boys, I called them gentlemen from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And we always had debates. And the first one of the first things that the gentleman learned from me was that I am not their father.
Mm-hmm.
It is impossible for me to be their father because a long time ago I showed them the birthing process. And I explained to them that I didn't create the concept of a sperm, scrotum, or even womb or egg. I had nothing to do with that. There is a more conscious, a more wiser, and a more articulate, a more intelligent being that is responsible for this.
Mm-hmm.
So that is your true father in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And me as a person, I'm supposed to support you to go further as the term
Mm-hmm.
father.
Father, yes.
So I want you to go further because the watcher is giving you its time. So I
Mm-hmm.
also told them to always watch the sun. And now they've been watching the sun for more than 10 years. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, look how consistent the sun is. There is no excuses. This is what your true father and mother created for you. You are breathing the air that the mother and father created for you, that you can
Mm-hmm.
pay back. The
Mm-hmm.
cells in your body, the earth that you stand on while it spins in a universe or in a solar system that is supported by your parents.
Mm-hmm.
What I am obligated to do is to point to them and to show you how they love you because one day, hopefully, you may see me in a casket
Mm-hmm.
when existence will continue to support you and your vision and the life that you live. So the sun is watching you. So do not waste time.
Mm-hmm.
Time. So I am pushing you further and showing you something that I didn't create. I didn't create my experiences. I didn't create my eyeballs. I didn't create my brain. I didn't have nothing to do with any of this. There is
Mm-hmm.
a greater force that is responsible for this. So always have the two gentlemen focus on the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So the real world is something that you cannot control, but it controls you. It teaches you about tragedy. It teaches you about the responsibilities. It treats you about all things if we are willing to observe them with respect. So that is a few of the things when I'm concerned with these two gentlemen who one day may have to push me in a wheelchair or do certain things because
Mm-hmm.
life exists. Like Prophet Muhammad, those who know about the Muslim prophet. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was Abu Bakr was somebody when Prophet Muhammad died. They said, those who worship Prophet Muhammad, your prophet is there dead, but Allah still exists.
Yes.
You say, Allahu Akbar,
Yes.
Allahu Akbar. So I am trying to mimic and follow those who are wiser than I am. So I don't necessarily want them to worry about me by no means, but to worry
Mm-hmm.
about existence who is calculating their behavior. And I spoke to them about principles today. I told them this today because we study at the library on Sundays. Adults supposed to educate the young ones by moral principle. And I was specifically talking about the Black community
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to grow up to be Black men in America, which
Mhm.
there are baggage connected to that existence, form of existence. So when you dealing with older individuals who the world consider parents, they supposed to number one teach you about moral principle, because the only place you're going is death. The only thing, only your destination is you're gonna die. You're gonna have to report your work to the thing that kept you and resurrect you and allow you to live, which we
Mhm.
consider God. So
Mhm.
the people supposed to teach you about moral principle, like this particular circle. The reason why it's boring and informative is because you have to be careful of the opinion of your older self. And when you're older, you don't want to have a lot of regrets. You don't want to focus on a lot of foolishness that you could have prevented. So you want
Yeah.
to be knowledgeable and boring at the same time, because being knowledgeable and being boring allow you the time to not make errors, which are
Mhm.
mistakes.
Mhm.
So I told them, you must know about moral principle. Number two, as Black men, you should know about a community. So I started telling them that Black men are not men. Because when you look on the internet, you have a lot of men who look like men, but not are men. They are boys.
Mhm.
Because we're talking about grown Black men in America. And I told them we are the worst thing on this earth. Why, Abba, are Black men in America the worst thing that exists on this earth? I told them when I was younger, I was told that a community had a few things in order to be considered a community. Number one, if Black men, in the eyes of the men of the world, had a community, they will have farmland. Number one.
Mhm.
Number two, they will create grocery stores from that farmland.
Mhm.
Number three, they will have a hospital in that community. Number four, after they create that hospital, they produce schools,
Mhm.
right? So you have farmland, grocery stores, hospitals,
Hospitals.
and schools. It was one more I need to remember, but forgive me, I'm in 0-degree weather. So give me a little bit.
So
Um,
the church would not be included then.
Definitely the church is not included.
I just wanted to make that a point.
Yes, sir. So you have I'm trying to remember, you have farmland, grocery stores. Oh yeah, the last one was banks.
Hmm.
So you have farmland, you own land, you grow food, you have grocery stores, produce to feed the people, you have hospitals to take care of the people, then you have banks to circulate the money, and then you have schools to educate. I
Yes.
said, Black men don't have that in 2022. And then we did the research. They have the research, but we looked up the percentage of Black doctors. And the article said that specifically Black men or Black people in general haven't gone anywhere in 120 years. I think the
Hmm.
first Black doctor was in the 1800s. And I asked them to look up how many Black hospitals do we have. We didn't see any.
No. No.
Then after that, we looked up farms. Out of 3.4 million farms, I think we have 45,000 farms.
Mm. That is a very small percentage.
That's insane. Um,
Mm.
so because we got 34 million Black people, I mean, I'm not going there yet because I'm really talking to them about why Black men in America. Because we got entertainers. I talked about the sports and how much money they make. I went to
Mm-hmm.
that to prove my point
Mm-hmm.
because I thought we was going to be doing better by now. I haven't talked about the first Michael Jordan shoe was in 1984, 1985. But yet we don't have our own shoe manufacturer. But anyway, let me go back to what the world of men and why I dislike being a black male in America at this point, because I am the few that was willing to go do something about it compared to others. So we looked up black doctors, how we don't have black doctors. We don't have no hospitals, but we do have black doctors. I forgot how many black doctors are there. I'm probably looking that up now. It's a little too late, but we'll do it next time. That may be a next show to go into more detail of this. So we don't have that many black doctors. We have doctors, but we don't have no progression in what a doctor is since for about 120 years. So we don't have no grocery. We had one grocery store. It was somewhere in New Orleans. So we got 45,000 farms, but one grocery store, black-owned grocery store. Now we're talking about men in the eyes of men of the world, black man in America, the one that look rough and tough with big beards and 1,000 pounds and all this foolishness. So I looked up how many black elementary schools and middle schools. There are none.
No.
After that, I looked up how many black banks do we have? Because we discovered that black people as a community have about $3 to $4 trillion. So I said, young gentlemen, how many black banks do we have? So if a community, which is an ecosystem, you have to have land, grocery stores. Now, if we were men, how is it possible that we got 34 million black people, but one black-owned grocery store if we were men? I also told them to look up, we use basketball players. There are 73% basketball players who making millions of dollars and millions in endorsements. There are 30 NBA teams. There are one black owner. Yet these supposedly men who clock in at a job making hundreds of millions of dollars, these people were on food stamps. Now they have hundreds of millions of dollars. They make up over 73% of the profession. But we don't own our own league. And then I showed them a dunk contest. But first, I showed them white owners. And then I showed them a dunk contest. Because I asked them this question. If you gave a child $1 and I pulled out a dime, what would the child do? And they both said the child will want the dime because it glittered.
Yep, that's right.
So if you have these quote unquote men who got beards and look rough and tough and all this stuff were men. I showed them a dunk contest of these black men. And I said, name one NBA owner that can do a dunk like that. They said none can do that.
No.
And I asked them if they were men. All these entertainers with hundreds of millions of dollars. We even spoke about a rapper who had a $4 to $5 million diamond embedded in his forehead.
Yeah.
Remember, the subject is, what is a man?
Mm-hmm.
So we have one grocery store out of almost 35 million black people that have the income of $2 to $3 trillion.
Mm.
You have 73%. It was 450 basketball players. 320 some basketball players are black men, and we don't own our own league.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them, how will other men around the world look? I showed them pictures of Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and the disaster. It was nothing. And then I showed them the Japanese space program. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
within 40 or 70 something years, or 40 something years, I forgot what it was. Let me do the math. That they went from nothing to being out in outer space. And look where black men are at in America. Where
In
all
three
these
times
poor
that.
people,
Jeez.
black men in America, we don't have no elementary schools. We have no middle schools. Most black children, 80% of black children cannot
Cannot
read or write
read.
from the third or fifth grade to the eighth grade at high school. How are we considered men? Because we got this thing called the bike. I forgot what is the bike thing in Florida. All these people in these boy clubs looking all rough and tough and mean, and all these cats riding around on motorcycles and drag racing in
Mm-hmm.
cars,
Yeah.
and young children looking at these nobodies in the eyes of men. Let's talk as men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of us tried. How is it possible to be considered a man and you don't have one community? Name one black community where there is an independent owned black farmland, independent owned black grocery store in the same location, independent hospital, black owned and black run by black physicians, independent black schools, and
Mm-hmm.
independent black banks in one little 5 block area. And you got millionaires who are in subdivisions on somebody else's subdivision, in somebody else's home,
Mm-hmm.
driving someone else's car, because we also went when Toyota was made, and we was sitting in a Toyota. I said, how can I look at men in the world and I'm sitting in a Toyota?
Mm.
Because other men who were destroyed build themselves up in a short amount of time. And I went into the year of the first black doctors and then the immune system and all this stuff that we have created and
Yeah.
black colleges. How can you look at young black boys, gentlemen, in their eyes and say we are men
Mm.
in the eyes of the world? And they looked at how much money these professional players were making, yet they still clock in. And most of these dudes were on welfare.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on? We don't have no black. What is going on? And I showed them Jewish town, Chinatown, and all these people's towns.
Yep. You don't have a black town. You don't have a brother
We don't
town. You
have
don't have.
one black community where
Hmm.
there is an independent black land that ships in the same area to a black owned grocery store that provide the produce to the black citizens in that neighborhood. And these black citizens go to their own black hospitals in the same area. Remember, it's an ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Same black area, walk right down the street to go to the black bank, to go down the street to go home. And he got all these multi-millionaire entertainers, the P. Diddy's, all these people that young people look up to and think these people are men. Because of Kanye, we discovered that these people borrow other people's money to make themselves look wealthy, because you cannot lose $2 billion within a few hours if that was your own money.
No,
This
you
is what
can't.
they do. They get credit and they connect their credit to people who got more credit and they say it's theirs. So how is it possible that these people in 2022, and I also told them when I was younger, NBA players would maybe get $1 or $2 million, Now we're getting
Yeah.
hundreds of millions because one of the gentlemen looked up to this LeBron James dude. He was getting 100 million, 60 here, and then 100 million over here in endorsements and all that kind of stuff. But he's still clocking at a job. How we look? How is it possible? How? Because I told them when I was younger, I was a part of a group of people that we tried to do it. We kept trying, and I'm looking around and I'm near 50 and I don't see it to this day. And more black people got more money. Something's going wrong.
The idea of community has been lost. It's all about going out for self now. It's
Not
all
really,
about,
brother, because we was going off for self. We do for self.
well, our definition of doing for self, the burning bush, is different.
Yeah.
And other people's definition of doing for self, other people's definition for doing for self is, no car payment, or having multiple houses that they say they own, but they still have to pay all of these taxes for. Multiple streams of income. They say that it's theirs, but they have multiple streams of taxes. There's certain tax brackets that they get. They have to take off the top. And these are things that are bragged about to be able to say, I'm in the 40% tax bracket. So I'm glad that I'm being robbed of 40% of what I am earning, because that puts me in a certain group of people. It's actually, unfortunately, way more simple than we're making it out to be. Because you talked about the 5 things that, excuse me.
Bless you. Yes, the 5 things is the land. You back? Wait till you back, brother. The 5 things is the land, the grocery store. Okay. Five thing is the land, the grocery store, and my memory just frozen. And I'm like, pretty soon y'all gonna have me in the ice box. The land,
Land,
the land. I got it. I got it. Bro.
farms, grocery stores, the banks, and the
Banks,
schools.
the schools. Okay, so we got the land, the grocery stores, the hospitals, the banks, and the schools. 5
Yes.
essentials for a
Yes.
community.
Those 5 essentials for a community. But the simpler terms that we think of in 5 are the 5 basic human needs, which have nothing to do with community whatsoever. food, water, clothing, sleep, and shelter. 5 basic human needs. So the people that are in the gentleman's ages, they say a millionaire ain't starving. A millionaire is not wondering where they're going to lay their head at night. A millionaire is not thinking about clothes. They got clothes with their own names on them. So that is what defines a man these days. It's been more rudimentary because community is such more of a concept of helping others, and that's a more broader concept. If you ask anybody in that generation of what makes a man, they would say, they're tough, alpha male, all these alpha, beta, whatever, and think people who stand on their own 2 feet. People that stand on their own 2 feet can say whatever they want to say, and people just have to deal with it. What are celebrities? These are people that get paid to say obnoxious things and are given the guise that they're living the way they want to live. They're in complete control of their life. It's the illusion of that. With the only evidence being they live in a house that has this many square feet. They're always eating at some fancy restaurant or anything like that, or they have their own beverages that they're advertising. They have their own clothing. So these are the human needs, not a community's needs. That's what I mean by going for self. Because pillars, when we think about pillars of a community, pillars of community make sacrifices for the sake of community. When we talk about Black Wall Street, these were people that made sacrifices for that community. They sacrificed their time to be those farmers, to be the ones that handled money in the way that they did, to get to the point where they actually would say, okay, listen, we need more of a certain type of employer or employee of this particular type of industry. So they make babies and have them set on the mentality that they're going to be a doctor, they're going to be a lawyer, because our community needs it. Versus a person that goes into the basic human needs and say, lawyer's gonna make a ton of money. You ain't gonna have to worry about not having anything. Doctors make a lot of money. You're not gonna have to worry about food stamps anymore. I remember a certain rapper by the name, he called himself the Old Dirty Bastard. And what he did as kind of a publicity stunt was, when they came out with his first album, Enter the 36 Chambers, in the dirty version, he took his welfare check and cashed it. And it was big news. This was huge. What are you doing? You're a multi-millionaire. You're rich. Listen, I got my name on it. I want my check. And they loved it because what it did was it allowed Black people to say that they could laugh at the idea of the mentality still being broke. You had images of Balenciaga showing destroyed shoes, $650 to $900 destroyed shoes based on the level of dilapidation.
Over 1,800, brother. Over $1,800. Yeah, the clogs were 700. The little clogs with heels
that looked like they were literally just stacked into the rubber of the bottom of the sole of the shoe. Isn't it funny how they can sell us our poverty? They can sell it back to us. Does that not play along in the whole swing of things of what richness really is? Is it really that they want to be us so bad that they will actually look broke like us and pay more money to look the same type of brokenness? So who's really rich then? Who's really wealthy then? If their mentality is broken, I don't care how much money they have. If I see anybody with $1,800 destroyed shoes, kind of like, remember back in the 90s with used and major damage, and I would get mad at my mother because she wouldn't let me buy up them torn up jeans and all the mixed match colors, cross colors.
Good point. Good point.
Right. And these were things that were teaching us to actually value how bummy we could look. That's insane to me.
That's a good point, brother. Really good point.
Because because like I didn't know what a three-piece suit was. You couldn't tell me what all those three pieces were until I went to a funeral. I didn't know how to dress up like a penguin till I got married. But these are these things, these little things that it has to be an event in order to be a certain decorum. When I went to the opera, me definitely being in the best dress that I had, and not even trying to, coincidentally, wearing the same type of hat that the lead part, Rodolfo, the poet, was wearing, me also being a poet. The significance in that was deeper than I had ever even thought of. To the point where the music director of the orchestra that's underneath this opera, shook my hand that night and wondered if I had seen the play ever before, because I was almost dressed like that bohemian, except my hat was leather. It was such a funny thing to me. It was absolutely hilarious to me, because here I was showing the best that I had, because I believed that I was in a circle of the best and I needed to fit in on that accord. And to come into watching an operatic play about being poor while putting the most richness on my body with other people who were dressed to the nines, clapping over the poor poet who would burn his words away. It's so deep to me, because we do that in real life. We do that in real life. Kanye West is burning his words away. Okay? People who are in this cancel culture are burning their words away. And we're all for it. The people are all for it. We have to change this type of thinking, if only one circle at a time. And that will end up being the new school. That will end up being the new cultivation and the farming that we need. Because it's way deeper than just the basic human needs. Because we are not basic humans. We are in a divine experience, and we're trying to relearn how to be closer to the divine. That's not a basic experience. That's not a rudimentary experience. That's the mission. That is what warms the hearts when spoken of certain memories of struggle, of turmoil, of even tragedy, and knowing that, but I'm still here. It's something to be said about that strength that's stronger than any set of 100 push-ups done in a 30-day period, let me tell you. Because I value someone who's been through worse than me and says, I am still here. Greater works than me shall he do also. And that's written. There's something about that. Because as much as me and you, as men, in the experience of being a man, tries to place anything and everything in terms of logic, we have no consequence, no choice, but to admit that we are still emotional creatures. That's what makes us human. If you need the threat of eternal damnation to motivate you to become a good person, newsflash, you're not a good person. When you find good people, salt of the earth, good people, light in the darkness, good people, you better hold on to them. Because that mission will die without them. And there's somebody that we are passing that baton to. We might not even ever know their face or their voice. But though we are speaking tonight, November 13, 2022, and we'll never do it again, it'll be recorded and kept forever for someone, even 50, 100 years from now. An old relic, kind of like how you held me in your hands on a cell phone, an artifact. Perhaps even our older selves can see and say, it was way more than just his own basic human need. There's a reason why he did that. That's the good job, well done, that I crave for. But it's got to come with rewards of some sort here. Not just up there, here. While we're warm, while we're trying to keep warm, while we're trying to keep other people warm, while the light's still shining. It has to be. Because without it, there'd be no other reason to sustain being here. That thought, that belief, no matter how little emotion was in it, it still makes us emotional creatures. We could be 99.99999% fact, but there's going to be one part of us that says, I believe something. I believe something. I dare the mighty thing to believe something, to believe in someone, to believe in a concept, to believe that one day it's going to reach somebody that's going to take that check and buy land instead of a big old house. That's going to take that bag of apples and Johnny Appleseed him an orchard. That's going to take that bulk, that advance check, and put it towards a child he didn't even have yet. The plan for him to have an education, or maybe even create a school. Like LeBron James and Dwayne Wade tried to do, because that was an attempt. See, the thing with those attempts, though, is they're met with a certain adversity and they're ended. Black Wall Street was ended because it was too successful. It was burned to the ground. It was too successful. Drowned in water in certain cities that are underneath rivers and lakes because it was too successful.
Brother Mike, just as every nation, they have wars and destruction. But guess what? As men, they rebuild.
That's true.
So again, and I want to cut this, brother, because you really got to get some rest. We health first. So I'm gonna talk about what men speak about, not with these whoever they. I don't know who they are. I can't comprehend who they are because it doesn't.
Hmm.
It doesn't. I don't have a clue what the heck these things are, but I really don't. This is some crazy stuff. The Native Americans spoke about 7-generation principle. Okay.
Yeah.
So 7-generation principle is that the decision we make today should result in a sustainable world 7 generations into the future.
Mm.
When we deal with men, I have watched men via books and present day structure that they've been looking, they had 100-year projection. You got
Mm.
some men that projects 20, 30, 40, 50, even 100 years in the future. That's why I can sit in this cold cabin because I own everything.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I love the concept, even if it's not much, because I don't get paid a lot, because I'm one of those true beings who
Mm.
cannot be around certain things because of money. I am almost 50. I have lived it, so I can speak it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I prefer to have some level of independence as a man that I tried while we got boys clubs and a bunch of boys in groups, even Masons and all these people with all the money,
Mm-hmm.
and still show up at jobs.
Mm.
So I like to look at men, I don't care if they white men, that they will suffer and do whatever it takes. Matter of fact, look at organizations that you talk about, like the Mormons. None of these
Yes,
organizations had good starts, but we sitting in their churches.
that's very, very
I mean,
true.
they had wars, they was fighting, they didn't give up. They did whatever they need to do to create what us boys are dwelling in. I don't care about no Black Wall Street. Why stop? Let's keep going. What is the excuse? Please look at the Hiroshima. Look at the land. It was totally devastated. And now they got their own space program.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
We are people that buy cars and buy gold chains, but we don't want to make our own gold chains, or we don't want to make our own hotels. Actually, we want to have one black built hotel or building or something. One. That don't. I'm sorry. I don't know what it called. What it does to me. I don't. I can't, because when I was younger, I thought it'd be different. And
Yeah.
now I'm seeing all these black people making all this extra money. I mean, unbelievable amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how it feels to have $100 million.
No.
But we got multiple. I think it's a few thousand black people that have hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's 18 or 19 black billionaires. Yet it's 35 million black people that spend over $2 to $3 trillion a year, and we don't have no black hospitals. We only have, I mean, we don't have a community. I don't want to do that. Scatteredness,
Right.
no more. LeBron
Right.
James school over here. I want one little ecosystem community to be a start. Why not? It's
Why
bad.
not?
It's too evil. It is too evil. We want to listen. I always call you guys the children of God because y'all get blessed more than me. So you guys are the children of God. And I gotta keep watching y'all's faces. I remember I was watching The Simpsons. I was like, man, they got the same characters and different stories, but it's the same people. So I look at you entertainers, it's the same people. Over and over and over. We got to hear about LeBron James. We got to hear about Michael Jordan. We got to hear about Tiger Woods. With the same people, same rappers. It's the same people being cycled. Yet we are 35 million black people.
Mm-hmm.
No black hospitals. One or two black. There's 45,000 black farms, but one independent black grocery store in Louisiana. That is not inside of a black community. But anyway, despite all these words, brothers and sisters, remember these are just words. I am nobody, but these are facts.
Yeah.
We hope and pray that you enjoy your day because life is short. Despite black people are being totally humiliated amongst human beings on this earth. We supposed to be the mothers and fathers of civilization, the mothers and fathers of medicine and science and mathematics. Yet, all these multi-millionaire black people, we have 80% of black children who cannot even read and write proficiently. We don't have nothing at all. But yet, like Kanye said, we impress the oppressed. We impress the oppressed. We got liquor. Ooh. But no hospital to put the damaged liquor person in. We bragging about liquor. So please, brothers and sisters, those of us who want to stay focused on being the best of the best, Optimus Prime, I really enjoy that. Optimus,
Mm-hmm.
that's the best. Just know that you can be the best. I don't care. Like I told one of the gentlemen today, they know if you're gonna be a buffoon, be the best buffoon. And I will appreciate that because life is short. So do what you're going to do, be committed to it, and show your works because we characterize people by their actions, not necessarily their words. So please do your best. Even if you are a dreamer, continue to dream. We don't belittle nobody. There is no belittlement at all. If we stay on subject, the subject I was speaking about is what is a man in the eyes of the world of men. Black men are not men in the eyes of the world of men. You can't see no evidence of that at all. You cannot walk amongst men and say you don't even have your own trucks along with the farm that produced the food and take it to your own grocery store. That is quite frightening because we have people that move to America and they bring their own foods. The first thing they have is their own grocery store. And when you go in it don't be fancy, but they support it. It'd be a little rinky dink grocery store, but and they have their own name on their foods. And yet we got multi-millionaires that got hundreds of millions of dollars and can't point to their own community. They can point to someone else's community that they bought a house. They bought a house in someone else's community, which they have a right to do. Hooray. But remember, the subject was, are African American men would be considered men amongst men in the eyes of the world? We are not. So that's the subject. So we're not belittling these brothers and sisters, because within whatever consciousness they have, God bless them to enjoy these multi-million dollar homes, these private schools, the luxury foods, the best of clothes, the many women and men, the best movies. They get the luxuries that they deserve for whatever work that God see fit. But so bless you guys for enjoying the work, the millions of dollars that God blessed you with. That God didn't bless me with nothing at all. He didn't bless me with no $1,000,000 at all. He blessed you guys with it. So you guys are the blessings of God, while I'm not. So continue to enjoy your blessings. Some of us are going to depart and go somewhere else, because this world is sickening to us. So you guys continue your luxury cars, your fine clothes, fine food, the best wines, like Drink Champs, they drinking alcohol. Continue to have your children to play sports, rap, be these doctors and pharmacists and all these people, and feel so good to clock in someone else's building, because you can take your children to the private schools, have the best lambskin seats in the warm seat cars, the heated floors in the hotels, the best foods. You got all the luxuries in someone else's world. But some of us would just thought we would create something of our own, but we could not. So God in life seen your life to be fit. God bless you guys more than we can dream of, because we are action based and we see the evidence that you can go home to your fine home with the best heating, air, food, with your children. Y'all can read your children's bedtime story. Y'all can take them and give them the best clothes so they can go to school with their best friend, the private school. Y'all can the private jets. Y'all got all the things that God bless y'all with. With somebody like myself don't have nothing of the sort. So continue. Blessings. So let's end this, Brother Mike, while we appreciate the children of God with all their alcohol, with all their private schools, where all the little children can look up to them, and all the little performance that they can have. They can dress up as women and get billions of dollars. They can do all these things, and we claim this is God's earth, and God gonna do this, and God gonna do that. But we don't see the evidence for God doing nothing for the righteous. We never seen Jesus return, God return. It's just nothing but silence. While the righteous get snuffed out. Martin Luther King is dead. He couldn't see his grandchildren. But we got to see you people on so-called God's earth. Really, that's what we have to see. We have to see Muhammad Ali, who gave up everything over principle, who had to shake and suffer and die, and the world didn't change. This is the evidence that we have to see. People like Farrakhan and other people who you may disagree, he have never murdered nobody. He in his 90s. Don't
Mm-hmm.
see no evidence of the work. Noble Drew Ali. Matter of fact, the person that made Tuskegee Institute, they built that school from the ground up. Yet, that school cannot put out PhD students. because I spoke to them personally because of finances.
Mm.
Personally, their PhD students have to go to other universities. So, yes, all of you beautiful children of God can receive the best foods, the best of everything, the luxury, all the sex, the travel. Y'all can go to secret places because y'all can pay the money. Pretty soon, y'all can pay the money to go out in outer space. While some of us goody two shoesers who were told that there is a God that loves us to receive nothing generation after generation. All we get is it's the day of the wicked. You know, these smoking mirrors. The always the
Mm.
tomorrow. No,
Mm.
nigga, you gotta wait till you die to get yours in heaven. Yet, Jesus supposed to forgive us all.
Mm.
What a world. So please continue and please continue to inspire the younger generation to promote your world, to promote transgender, who I think some are beautiful people. But I warned you, it was a young man in Norway who wanted to be disabled and a woman at the same
Mm.
time.
Mm. 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 Mm.
So he deserved to receive benefits, financial benefits from the government for being disabled because he desired to be disabled. One shoe deserved the other. Gotta be
Mm.
fair. Don't deny that man disabled benefits
Mm.
because I heard some of you can go into the military and get free surgery to get certain parts changed in your body. And y'all even having babies, they don't even know what's left from right. God of this earth and the universe bless you guys to do this. Y'all are blessed that y'all can have scientists create chemicals to change your hormones and grow beard. Y'all are blessed by God. Why some of us we don't get nothing. Remember, we're evidence based. This God love you guys. Y'all can do whatever y'all want. Like Bohemian Grove, they got owls with
Mm.
multi-trillionaires there. Get the best of everything, murdering children and all these body parts are missing and all this kind of stuff. You guys are the true children of God who are blessed in this world, and that's they say gonna be blessed in the next because we can't prove it that y'all are not blessed in the next world. So continue to enjoy your beautiful life, and we love it, and we honor it, and we respect it. And brother Mike, so please get some rest, brother, because um, like Magic Johnson, millions of people had to die of HIV, where he did so much partying because he was blessed by the living God to party and do whatever he wanted and got all the money,
Mm.
and he's still alive while so many people have died. The children of God, the true children. Remember, evidence based. So
Right.
let's continue to watch the true children of God by us dreamers, while our God don't even exist because we don't see the actions of a God of our kind. We don't see it because we believe we should have the same thing because we believe there's enough room for all of us. But as we look around, we don't see the evidence because even the Catholic Church and all these other people are doing so many wicked things from our perspective. Yet they get all the private this, the planes this, the food this, the luxuries, the best clothes, the best of everything that the earth can offer them. Blessings to you all, loving children of God. So I honor you and respect you because y'all showing me who God loves and who God does not love. by actions. Jesus died on the cross. Moses didn't make it. Nobody in the scriptures made it. What actions? We saw that they died and we believed they went to heaven.
Mm.
All these good people, Martin Luther King, all these people died. So we see the evidence of what righteousness is. This is God's earth. What the righteous is going to do with no evidence of a heaven. So we love the evidence. And I just made a petition a long time ago because I don't think it's fair for us to complain about being alive because we didn't create this existence.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's only fair that if we are good souls, that we just take our souls somewhere else, abandon this whole galaxy, and create our own space. I don't believe in the mingle, and I don't believe in judging those who the gods do bless of this space. We're honored that you allow us to have this experience. We don't judge. We're not in the judging business, especially if we didn't create it. We just say, hey, I think there are no more souls of our kind need to come here anymore ever and see how time in the physical world we'll see who thrive and who will not thrive. So, Brother Mike, you got last few words?
The only thing that I have is just the last iteration of what you said. We are not here to judge.
That's right.
And just like this candle, which cannot complain, the candle cannot complain
That's right.
against the
Against the
darkness of the
darkness,
house.
nor the harshness. Yep.
It instead emits itself, then
Admit
admits
to itself
itself that it is everything
everything it
that
needs.
needed.
Oof.
It is the light, and we are.
Woo! This is more powerful. Whew. Mm.
And to prove that we
Mm.
are this light, we take this in our body and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are not harmed. In fact, we are temporarily warmed by this. We'll grab all of the heat from the top of this thing.
And also, brothers and sisters, please enjoy your life. And remember, these are just words, but I am honest with my words. But please, despite all of it, we can find some happiness before we go and die. It's blessings.
Yes.
Don't fret. Love at all costs. Please.
Don't fret. Love at all costs. A wise man once told me that there are two definitions of fret. One is to be trepidatious, fearful, nervous, afraid. But the other one is a long board that has little increments upon it. Wood and metal, made for music. If I'm going to fret, let me play on the fretboard. Let me be the soloist of the music of the gospel, of the truth, of the good news that I intend to be, despite anything, despite any and everything, despite my health, my lack, of it, thereof, my wealth, my lack of that. Why? Because why not? Because I dare the mighty thing, despite everything else pushed against me to say otherwise. Somehow, I still believe. Many blessings.